This is a project that I did because of an issue that I had migrating my password information from Kaspersky to Passkey. Recently I found myself in a situation where I needed that functionality, and unfortunately Kaspersky and Passkey don't have a way to move their data smoothly from one to another. Now, if you look at, it's called Keepass. If you look at Keepass, they do have some different import options, but unfortunately none of them will work with Kaspersky's password manager system. So an example of how Kaspersky exports their information is right here. So here I have an example. If you were to do an export from Kaspersky, it's going to create this text file, and it's going to look exactly like this. It's going to have website name, website URL, login name, login, password, and comments. And it's meant so that if you wanted to, you could print this out and save it as a hard copy of your passwords. And probably a good idea, keep that in a safe or something. But it's meant to be human readable and not machine readable. Okay, so the problem I had was that for it to be imported properly into Keepass, it needed to be in this format. So here you can see this is a format that is taken from Keepass's website, and they actually provide this sample here in case anybody wants to write some code for it to work. And you can see it needs your main column names need to be in quotes, double quotes, and it has to have account, login name, password, website comments with commas separating them, but no comma at the end. And then it gives you an example of some of the websites, the way that they need to be entered. So this would, of course, the first entry, the account and login name, password in the website. And so this is an example. So I needed a way to go from this over here, Kaspersky's export, into this, which is a machine readable for Keepass. And in my password list, I had over 120 entries, and so I needed them to import smoothly. I did not want to have to type them in manually. So this is just an example of how handy being able to program in any language comes in. So for this project, I chose Python because Python is really geared for this type of string manipulation, which is really what we're doing here. And so I'm not going to rewrite the code line by line, just because it's just a little bit extensive. I'm going to explain it line by line in my logic, and then I'm also going to make the code available on GitHub if you want to download it for any purposes. Well, for this purpose, specifically for importing Kaspersky data into Keepass. So again, just to reiterate, I am going over Kaspersky's password manager is what I'm using, the product I'm using, and I'm trying to go from there to take my data that was entered in this password manager into Keepass. And this is Keepass. This is what it looks like if you were to go to their download site and download their application. So Kaspersky and Keepass. We're trying to do an export and then an import. Now, since the first thing the application is going to do is going to read the text file from Kaspersky's export, I need to create a class that's going to open it up and read it. And so I decided to do mine in Object-Oriented Programming, or OOD, Object-Oriented Design. And so the first thing I have here is I went ahead and created a class that I called text.io, and it's just for text input output. And what I did here is I'm going to pass it the text file, so whatever the text file name is, the operation, and the operation for me means read, write, or append, and so it's going to be a single character, and then the text, whatever the text is going to be. Now, clearly, if we're reading, then we won't pass it anything. We'll just pass it a null value or an empty string, and so that's what these three variables, these three arguments are for: the name of the text file or the directory, the operation, what is it we want it to do, and then if we're reading, then what is it returning? Okay, so here what I have is the constructor. So we have the self text file equal text file and so forth, just in the way that constructors are created in Python. Next, I have the actual class method. So if this wasn't inside of a class in an object, this would be a function. But in this design, this is a class method object, is what this is called, the technical terminology. So we have this class method object, and we're going to, of course, just pass itself. And I just called mine io_text. And it's going to look at the text file, because we need to know what the text file that we're going to be working with is, and the operation. What is the operation? So if the operation is a W, we're going to write to the file, then we simply say text file dot write self text. Because here we're going to open it right here. Text file equals open self.text, and we're telling it what's going to happen here. And then down here we're going to say write if it's a W, read if it's an R, and append if it's an A, or write again, but it ends up being the same thing so long as the operation is an A right here. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to need to do is, once we have this figured out, then what we need to do is we need to write a okay, so on the same script down below, right here, I have the IO text underscore line. So this is where all the method class, or the class method that will be in exporting the Kaspersky formatting. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be looking at the text file and formatting it, and then retrieving the data, inserting it into a dictionary so that we can work with it. All right. So let me pull back up the item that we're going to be working with so that you can take a look at it again. All right. So this is the text that we're going to be importing and working with. So we need to get all of this into a nice little dictionary so that we can manipulate these data. And so I'll push it out of the way. And so the first thing I do is I create the password dictionary, and I create the variables that I'll be working with for each one of these items here. So we need the website name, the URL, the login, and the password and comments. Those are the items that I want to keep track of. After having created the variables that I'll be using, I'm going to go ahead and throw all of this in a try-catch statement, or in this case a try-except statement. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use I, so I can keep track of the number of iterations. Now, the reason I'm using this right here, the I on line 50, is because Keepass doesn't allow duplicates, and sometimes you'll have duplicates in different programs or websites that you might go to. For example, for myself, I have a Chase account that is that I use for myself, and then I have a couple different Chase accounts for banking purposes. And so clearly that those two different entries, it only take the first one and the other two will be kicked out. So my solution was just to keep track of the number of iterations, and then what I use is lines 63 through 64 to iterate the I, and then I just add an underscore and then an integer to each new entry that normally would be a duplicate. So for example, my first Chase account would just be Chase. The second time it catches it, because right here in line 62, it's going to check the password dictionary and see if my new key that I have exists already. And if it does, it's going to attach an underscore and then the iteration of I to it. So that way, if I had three Chase accounts, it would be Chase, Chase underscore 1, Chase underscore 2, Chase underscore 3, and that, just like that. And that way I don't have duplicates, because the password dictionary won't take duplicates. All right, so let's take a look at the first one. So we take a look at this website name chess, for example, or that's where it's at. And what I'm doing is I'm going to go through each one of these lines here, and I'm going to iterate through them line by line. And the first thing I'm looking for is the website name, because I'm going to assign the website name to the new key for the dictionary. It's going to be the key. So the first one, it's going to find it right here, and when it finds it on this line, what it's going to do is it's going to strip any extra spaces, and then it's going to start at space 13. So right here, what this is saying in the string that it found a website name, start 13 characters over. So if we start from here and count this number over, that'll eliminate this whole word here. So that way, we're only going to capture the rest of the name. So for example, website underscore name with 13 spaces over, we're going to capture this right here. And that way we're just capturing the name and not this. Okay, now there was a couple of times in there where these two things existed after the website name. So it was website name and then name again and then text again. So to handle that, I just simply looked for them, these two occasions, and replaced them with nothing, with an empty string. So I look for the string, I strip it, then I capture the name of the website, then I replace anything extra that might be in there, which happened only a couple of times in 120 entries. And then I strip it again just to make sure that everything's good, and that's going to give me my new key. At that point, once I have the new key, now I'm going to check in the password dictionary to see if the new key is a duplicate. If it is a duplicate, I'm going to add the underscore I. If it's not, then I'm not going to do anything to it. It's going to be good, and I'm going to set I to 0, so it's ready for the next check. Okay, so after that, I'm going to look and see, I'm looking for the website URL. So it's going to capture this next one here. And just like I did before, I'm going to replace the website URL right here, and I'm going to replace it with nothing, so I get rid of it. And let's see here. And I'm going to strip it, any of the spaces that are on either side, and then that's going to be the new website URL. And then for the same with login, I'm doing the same thing, and login, new login, password, and comments. So just repeating the same process. Once I have all these, then I'm going ahead and I'm going to enter them into the password dictionary. So I'm going to have this new key that I have here, that I found here, and then I'm going to add each of the new entries that I found. And so we're looking for the new website URL, the new website, I don't know, I have that in there twice, it should be there twice. New login name, a new login, new password, a new comment. I'll have to double check why I did that. I think that's in there. Okay, and once I have all those in the password dictionary, then I'm ready to do some more things. Now let's see, is there anything else going on in here? I don't think so. I think through here I'm just iterating through each line and looking for these keywords that exist in the Kaspersky output, and I'm capturing the information. That's what I'm doing right here. And then I'm entering it all into a dictionary under the key of website name. If there's any errors, I'll capture those and print those out. Okay, and I think that's it. Once I've done this, I'm going to return the password dictionary with all the information that I've captured through all of the lines. And right here in the for loop, it's going to iterate through all of the lines. Once it's done, then the for loop is done. It's gone through the entire thing, and I'm done. So with this class method object right here on line 38 is where I go through all the process of parsing through this and collecting all the information from it. Okay, so that was what comprises the text file text io underscore objects py. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the format for Keepass. Did I say that wrong? I wonder if it's supposed to be passkey. I think it's Keepass. Let's see, how do I have it in here? I don't have it here. Okay, so I think I'm okay. All right, let's go for Keepass. Okay, so now this is the object format for Keepass. It's this script here, and I have the class format for Keepass, and the constructor for this one's really simple. All I'm saying is the constructor is the text that I'm going to pass it. That's all it is. And so when I take this text, I'm going to parse the text, and I'm looking for the key and the value. Well, I do want to skip the first row. So if there's no key value, then we're going to skip that, and as long as it's not a null value, then we're going to do all these lines right here. And let's see. So the first one is we're going to create the Let's see here. So the first thing I do is I'm going to create the first line that I need for formatting the example text. So let me pull up the example text again. I don't have it up. I'll have to. Right here on the very first line, you can see how it has to be formatted. I need account, and I need it login, password, website comments, exactly in this format with the double quotes and the commas. And that has to be the first one. So to do that, it's just as simple as saying, okay, I'm going to have this string, and this is what it's going to be. So that's how I did that part right there. And you can take a look at the whole line of text. Once I've created that, then the next thing I need to do is I need to get the information out of the dictionary that I sent it to back over here in the text_IO_objects. And so it's going to get that cleaned dictionary, and now it's going to be looking for that dictionary so we can now format it into what we need for the Keepass. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the key, and I'm going to grab the value, and I'm going to make sure that the key value is not null. And that way it'll skip any empty spaces anywhere where there's not. Because if you look at the way this is output, there's spots in here that has nothing. So we want to make sure we skip like these lines. We want to skip these spaces. We want to skip this line right here. So the easiest way to do that is just to say, if there's no key value, then don't do anything. Otherwise, let's do this stuff right here. All right, so the very first thing I want to do is I want to grab the key. And so I'm going to output the key right here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the login name. Now the reason you see this 3, 4, 1, and 5 is because that's the order in the dictionary that these are. Those are the indexes and the keys. And so all I need to do is go into the read time port dictionary, and I'm going to grab the key. I'm going to grab the value that's with this key, so whatever the key is, and I'm going to grab the number 3 object. So for example, let's take a look at this right here. In the dictionary, let's say that it was semesters of Carmel, and this information right here. So the third key for login name would be 1, 2, 3. It would be this right here. Here. No, it's going to be this right here. And that's because it looks like this example right here is missing the login name, I think. I'll have to take a closer look at that. But you can see the order from the first line that this is going to be, number 1 is going to be the account, number 2 is going to be the login name. Where's it 3? Oh, okay, so the reason they're in different order here is because back here in the text objects over here, they were captured a little in a different order. So for example, the website was captured first, login was captured second, password was captured, and you can see right here, this is the true order is right here in the dictionary. So the website URL is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is just a double entry. I should have done that. That's an error right here. I don't need 2 of those. But it's in the dictionary twice. I'm not going to mess with it now. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I want to capture the key first, it looks like I'm capturing the 1 first. Let's go back and take a look at that. For passkey. And yeah, so website is 1. I could place this as a 0. It would still work because it's in there twice. And the login name is 3. Let's go back to the format for passkey object, and okay, let's see here. I want to be here. So 0, 1, 2, login name is 2. We want the new login, which is 3, and password, which is 4, new comments, which is 5. So we're looking for 1, 3, 4, and 5. So 3 is login, 4 is password, 5 is comment, and those are the ones we want. And that's why, so that's what the 3, 4, 1, and 5 are. Again, because I put the website in twice by error, this 0 would work here. You could say 0 and it would still work. But if I was to delete that first value, then these other values would change. I would have to change this to 2, 3, and 4. And now it would still work. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here is I'm pulling the key and the value that is associated with it, like I was showing you here, from the pass key or from the dictionary. And then over here, I'm going to do this little thing here. And what I'm doing here, each time, in each one of these, you can see format right. That's just this method, or this little function right here. And what it's doing is, it's going to take the text that I'm passing it, so the key, or the website, password, whatever. And what I'm going to do is I'm looking for a test. So for example, all these are true except the last one's false. And what I'm doing here is I'm saying, if it's the last one, don't put a comma at the end of it. That's all this is saying. So it's just looking for the false. If it finds the false, then it's just going to pass a new line symbol. So other than that, it's going to put a comma. If it's the last line, then just return new line. And so that's what's happening here, formatting for each one of these outputs. Okay, so that's it. Let's go to the main. Now from the main, what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, from the text IO objects, which is the one where we handle text, we're going to import that script, and we're going to import it as we're going to import the class of that script as T, and we're going to do the same for the format for Keepass objects. We're going to import that script, and we're going to import the classes for that script, and we're going to import it as K, and that's just so we can do it shorthand without too many rewriting any of this stuff. And then all we do here is say, okay, we're going to use the Kaspersky example, so I can do this using an example for you guys. And then Kaspersky real, which is the one I'm doing it for myself, my real text files. And then we're going to create a string. And this is the dictionary, this is the directory of where this file is kept. And so that's where it's at. And we just append it to the end. The Keepass import text file directory, again for example, and again for real. And then it has its own little directory here where it gets concatenated at the end also. And that's it. We're just setting our variables here. Now we're going to use our set and get, and we're going to call the Kaspersky_text. And what this is doing is this is going to set our variables. We're going to set the directory, we're going to set it to read, and then we're going to pass it null because we're reading. And if we go back to see what that is the text IO. Let's go back and take a look at that. So all that's doing here is that's coming to the very top, and it's constructing it right here. It's going to pass the text file, the operation read. This is going to be an empty string because we don't need it. And then right here on line 22, it's going to set the operation to read and then run the file, and we return the information. And now we have it. And it's going to return that information. We're going to assign it to message, and it's going to return a message. So we're returning the information that it got from the read. Okay, so basically it's returning this information right here. Okay, so now once we have that, let's go back to the main. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to import the Kaspersky text IO text file, and we're going to call this function right here. So we're going to call it, and we're going to whatever happens here, we're going to assign it to this read input variable. Okay, so this right here is going to be where we read the information, and so this set it, and this is going to cause it to read the information, actually execute it. Okay, once we have the information read, it's now in this variable here, read_import. Now we're going to call the Keepass underscore format, and it's going to be read the import, but this time we're using K, and if you remember, K is the format for Keepass. We're using this object, so we can read it, and or not read it. We're gonna set the format values. So let's go take a look at that. So that's just right here. All that's doing is it's passing it here, and it's going to set it to self, so that now we have this object that we can work with. That's all that happened there. Let's go back to the main. Okay, so the next thing that happens after this is we're going to now execute the IO underscore text, which is going to be the inline read stuff. So we're going to write clean formatted text to the export. That's all. So let's go back to that. We'll take a look at that. That's let's see if I get this up. Okay, so that's working in here. Got the dictionary information. Okay, so what we're doing there is we reset these values. It's going to be a write now, and this time we are passing it text. It's whatever the text we formatted. And now it's just coming down to here and saying on line 19, let's write this stuff. We're going to write it to the text file that we passed. And of course, the text file that we passed is now the new text file for our output of where we want it to be. And that's it. So we have our retrieve with our stripping of information and setting it into a dictionary, returning the dictionary. Let's go back to our main. And that's happening right here. We're reading it, returning the cleaning of the information is happening right here and importing to a dictionary. Then we're going to, once it's clean, then we set it to the Keepass format. We're here in the Keepass format. Let's go back to this. Is where we looked for the different values that were in there, the login name, password, website comments, and we're formatting them with the quotation marks and the commas. And once we've done that, then we're prepared to call the write statements. So once we've done all this right here, then we just jump down to here to the write clean formatted. We're going to print it to the console so we can see what's happening. And of course, right in here too, we also write it to the text file. And that's it. So we're writing it to the text file, and then we're also sending it to the console. And you can see this is done in object-oriented design. Everything's an object. We're setting our variables. We're setting the objects, and then we're calling the class object methods for the class. I'm saying it wrong. The class method objects right here and here. That's what's happening here. And then we simply call those methods and have them do things for us. So this is a nice little example of how to do a pretty simple thing. So let's take a look at the output of this and see what it looks like. Alright, so here in the console you can see it formatted it the way we want. I'll put this over here, and then let's look at how it needs to be formatted. So this is an example. We have account, login name, password, website comments, the name, the login value, the password value, the website, and if there's any comments, which there isn't in this case. And then the same for everything else, just login name, password, website, and comments. Yep. So this is all done properly formatted the way it needs to be. And this right here is in the correct format to be imported into the Keepass. So the only other, so once you have this text file, and mine is really lengthy. Like I said, I had 120 different accounts with all this information ready to be imported. And so once this is done, all you need to do is remember in the let's see, when you import this stuff into Keepass, remember there's going to be a box which is going to be pre-checked, and it's going to say / as an escape character. You don't want to have this, so uncheck it. You have to remember to uncheck it, because what's going to happen is sometimes if you use a password generator like I do, there's going to be occasions where you have a / in your passwords, and if that's the case, it's going to mess up your import. So you have to make sure that you unchecked the box for this right here on Keepass. But other than that, it worked great. I was able to import cleanly and easily over 120 different sites with all their information using this code, this script right here. Anyways, I thought it was pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and import this to GitHub. And if you guys want it, you can download it, use it, learn from it, add to it, take it, whatever. Happy coding.